when they are consuming your minds and your thoughts and your dreams, from the angels to the demons and to the mysteries unseen, there is no need to worry. There is no need for dread. It's just time to discuss the thing at the foot of the bed.
Good evening, and if you're just tuning in, you're listening to 105.3 and 107.7 of the beautiful city of New Orleans in the United States to UFO Paranormal Radio Network, otherwise known as United Public Radio Network, or we just call it UPRN, to the thing at the foot of the bed. And I'm one of your co-hosts. My other partner in crime is to the housekeeping things. And then David, I'll introduce him. You guys already know him. I'm going to say hi to Sandra because I see she's I'm the host that's talking, one of them. Sorry, my mind's all over the place today. Crazy days, time's going by faster. I'm Lorilei Potvin. I'm a host on the network. Hi, Lori Yanni. I have a host. I am the host of my own show on Monday nights here called The Angel Rock from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time here on UPRN. And I am a Canadian clairvoyant medium, crystal Reiki energy healer, Akashic Records practitioner, a spiritual teacher and mentor, and registered nurse. What else do I want to tell you guys? Well, I'm just going to go. It's just going to come out of my head. I know I don't read a script. So if you like what you see, please like, share, and subscribe. Tell all your friends and your family. The network has been around for just over 25 years, I believe. I want to thank Joe Montaldo, who owns this network, and he provides this amazing space for all of this great content here. We have shows that go back, like I said, 25 years. So we've got multiple shows that play per evening, and I believe into the daytime as well. And if we're not live, that's when the archive service kicks in. So we've got all kinds of shows from syndicated hosts that have been on this network to oldie moldies like myself, some that have been here even longer, to some of the new hosts. And we've always got new shows and new hosts coming. So there's something for everybody. Now, tonight, we are streaming on TV. I'll just say UPRN has their own channel on Roku, and you can find it by signing into your Roku account. You're going to go to the channel store. You're going to look up UFO space P as in paranormal. There's a drop-down list. We're about the third or fourth down, and you're looking for UFO space paranormal and United Public Radio. If you're on Facebook, Lori Yanni, we can see you, so you're okay. But if you've never been here before, sometimes we have a few people that have done this multiple times. I have no idea why it may not work, but you have a few options. You can head to StreamYard.com and /Facebook. You're going to give them permission to use your picture and your name, because you otherwise will come up as Facebook user, or you can put your name behind your comment, or you can stay anonymous. Now, don't worry if you're wondering, am I coming up as Facebook user or not? You'll see it on the screen. We'll highlight it for you and we'll call you out just so you know, not to embarrass you, but just so you know, because if you've been here before, you know we love to make you guys the focus of the show, because without the audience, it's just me and Dave having a great gab fest. And speaking of Dave, take it away, Dave.
Hello, my name is Dave. I am a spiritual medium out of, well, right now it's North Carolina in the United States. I am a medium. I channel all kinds of stuff. I always say that.
He's awesome.
I just run the gamut. I just do everything. I love investigating paranormal stuff. I know everything about there is to know, pretty much. That's all I do is study. But it's really good to be here, you guys. Hi, Laura Lee. Hi, Lori Yanni. Hi, Sandra Sharp.
If I said your last name wrong, Lori, I apologize. Is it Yanni or Yanni?
Yanni. I call her Yanni, or she's crazy Yanni.
We'll just call you Lori. You'll know who we're talking about. How with that? So we got something spooky to share with you tonight. Dave, one of our regular audience members is Haffern Paranormal, or what Dave said. So Dave, you're saying Lori's last name properly. So Robin of Haffern Paranormal is a a co-host on a show I have been on numerous times, and David was on last Sunday, and it's called Talking with the Source. The other hosts are AJ Capasso. He's been on the Angel Rock before. I've been thinking I'm going to have all three of those boys on my show if they're willing to come. And then Jonathan, please forgive me because I just know you by JK47 Paranormal. I think it's Gold. I want to say Goldsmith, but I'm not sure. Don't quote me on it. Anyways, Dave was on there, and Robin, I guess, wasn't able to be there. So AJ and Jonathan were. And holy cow, wait till you guys see what happened. When I want to hang on to it for a little bit, Dave, and we'll build the suspense, or you want to talk about it?
You can do what we want. The funny thing is, you guys, anybody listening, every time so far when Lori and I are on different shows or on shows, something crazy happens. Like
always, yeah.
On Lori's been producing some podcasts, or she's been on the podcast, growls and talking and noises and sounds. And then I was on with the guys, and we were just talking away. And then you'll see he interrupts me. You can play it if you'd like. This
Okay.
is something, what you're going to see is something I'm very familiar with in my lifetime. And actually, earlier, Laura Lee sent me a video of the Nuke's Top 5 because Laura Lee loves Nuke's Top 5.
I love Nuke's Top 5.
We watch it, and I watch it because we want to see what's out there, what's going on, and we try to we just enjoy watching them, but we'll try to debunk them if we can. We'll try to figure out.
We should debunk it.
Yeah, and we try to do what we do, and we don't debunk stuff to be idiots. We do it because it's good to keep all of us honest, including the mediums, including me, including Laura Lee, including all of us, because we want the evidence to be real, really good evidence. So that's why we try to find out whatever we can. Plus, there are people out there who do get scared of this stuff. So we need to let everybody know not everything is scary, and we're here to let you know that. Some of it
That's
is.
why hey, Howie, we'll give Howie a shout out. He owns the Rift Network, and he has his own show, The Orion Effect, which David and I have been on, and he does some great programming over there. He really supports UFO Paranormal Radio, so we want to give him a shout out too. But I forgot to mention something, Dave. If you guys want to join the conversation and you're listening live, you can head over to Facebook or YouTube under the name of UFO Paranormal Radio, and we'll see your comments. David is streaming to two spaces, his YouTube channel, The Spirit Experience, and his Facebook group by that name. We are streaming to Canada's Most Haunted on Facebook. Where else are we? You can just look up Lorilei Potvin on Facebook. My profile is public. I'm streaming there. We're streaming to News on the Flip Side, The Centralist, and we're not on LinkedIn right now. I'm trying to think where else. I think that's it. We can go to 8 places, then Dave adds us too. So we're all over. But the other thing I forgot to mention, if you guys just join at the last minute, or you hear something and you're going, gee, I know one time Howie was listening and he heard we had a crazy show, Dave and I, we had all kinds of stuff coming up in the background. He said, oh, please tell me there's an archive. You can always watch shows, our shows, anybody's shows, because anywhere you're seeing it, there's a copy. So on YouTube, also Facebook if it's on video, but anywhere where podcasts or talk radio are carried, our shows are there. Now, some of our bigger platforms are StreamYard and Podbean, and you can find all kinds of shows. I'll let you in a little secret now why I back up all shows on my YouTube channel, and many of us do that have been around for a while, because good old Mr. YOUTUBE decided to give us 3 strikes, and that's the rule on there. 3 strikes and you're out, and we lost our main channel, so we lost all the video stuff. That's before we use StreamYard. So you can still hear the audio, though. There's always audio of our shows. So even the most obscure app, you can find our shows. So just wanted to let you guys know that. I think that was everything I wanted to share, because we were thinking we might talk about shadow people and stuff like this, and how it goes, what? Oh, yeah, Howie. And I have some very interesting shows. I will tell you, I triple back up my shows, because we used to use Skype. And I miss Skype. I never produced my own shows with Skype. Joe would do all the producing, Joe Montaldo. But people could call into the show. People could call in. There was a lot more things you could do with Skype. With StreamYard now, most of us hosts, not all of us, but most of us produce our own shows That's why I do a lot of producing on the network for people say that are new, don't know how to do it. But yes, we lost all of our videos of our shows. It was not good. So now they're all backed up. I think I'm backed up on Odyssey, on Rumble, on YouTube, everywhere, triple backed up. Yes, Joe is awesome. Howie says, so Joe, if you're listening, if you're there in the background, because Joe actually has this studio in his home. Howie O'Dell said, Joe is amazing. He's a great man. And yes, he is. He's awesome. Dave still hasn't met him yet. And you know what Joe calls our show? Dave, I think I told you.
Foot?
Yeah, he can't remember the name, so he calls it the foot. The foot thing.
But where's that foot thing that comes on at 8 o'clock? Yeah, so anyway, what we were saying earlier today is I was on this show with...
I'm just about... Do you want me to set up while you're talking, Dave?
Go ahead.
Okay, go ahead.
Speaking of shadow people, I am not a stranger to shadow people. That is something that's been with me most of my life. And I find some shadow things are scary, of course, but some are not. But we'll go into shadow people a little bit more. But I was doing a show with some friends of ours who watch here. It was just last Sunday. And right towards the middle of the show, something happened. And we have that clip. They sent me the clip and I gave it to Lorilei so she could play it.
It's called Talking with the Source for you just joining in. So Halfern Paranormal in the chat is Robin from the UK. He wasn't there when you were on I think it was last Sunday, right, Dave?
Yeah, last Sunday.
Yeah, so but they have 3 hosts. So AJ Capasso and Jonathan of JK47. I think it's JK-47 Paranormal was there. So get ready. Now what I'm gonna have to do is push play, and then I'm gonna try to make it bigger if I have to. Hang on.
If you are listening to this and you can't see it and you want to see the video,
I didn't add it. Hang on. I had it all loaded up here and I didn't push the other button. Hang on.
Okay.
Go back, you. I had it all loaded to go and I got so excited. I forgot to push this button right here so we can have it on screen.
Oh, here we go.
There we go.
Much closer, guys, and they'll play it slow too.
Yeah, they do play it slow. So I'll try and make it bigger so you can see because we're going to focus on Dave.
Powerful they were. Nothing could stop anybody here. But we did.
Hold on. I have to ask you a question. Did somebody just walk by in front of you? In front of the camera? Was somebody walking in the room in front of you?
Nope, I'm the only one here.
Did you see that, John?
Sorry, I know it's so big. It says you can see a shadow pass. Something white doors still left.
Powerful they were. Freaking powerful they were. Freaking powerful they were.
Talking with the Source.
Freaking powerful.
There you go.
I looked awful during that interview. I was running around all day.
Hang on, guys. Okay, good. Let me stop this. Dave, I could see that pretty clearly. I hope everybody else could. Holy cow. Hi, Sarah Jane. She's here tonight. Welcome.
It was tall too. It was big. Because you can see my shadow behind me. I have my shadow, and then that shadow goes. I don't know if it went between me and my shadow or what, but it just went right through.
Well, yeah. And those guys are paranormal investigators, all of them. We know we're very well versed and do paranormal, still from time to time for Called On. Dave and I do paranormal investigation. But these guys, this is like their big thing. Like I think Jonathan has a podcast or a show he does called JK47. He does a lot of ITC or intertrans communication, gets a lot of EVPs and things like that. And he tries to, I noticed he's been, I just met him because he's never been on the show before. It's usually just Robin and AJ. So it's nice to have the 3 of them. But he was the one that brought up, I think it was on the Angel Rock about the Alan Greenberg case. And he claimed, it was with us last Thursday. And he got some EVPs. He tries to help with some cold cases or things that need some information from the other side of the spirit world, which I think is a pretty awesome thing.
Yeah. Yeah,
my boys, I was just going to add my boys, who I just love, and I talk about them all the time too. And we're talking about Paranormal Nightmare TV with the Foreman brothers. They're in Nuke's top 5 this week too. So
Yeah, when I watched the two with the recordings.
mhm.
The recordings. Yeah, now we watched so we were gonna talk about some shadow people and stuff today. The first thing that was on there was what some people refer to as the hat ghost or the hat man. The hat
I
shadow.
have some things to say about the Hat Man, and so you go ahead and say what you want to say. Then I have some things
Oh,
to
perfect. I don't know if I don't recall, in all honesty, because I don't want to ever say, I can't in my memory recall seeing a shadow man with a hat, I
I
guess.
have.
I don't know if that was the one, because I'm trying to think. The one that, and I told the story on here before, and maybe I will later, about I was having I was in a bad relationship, and I kept having this dream over and over about this big shadow guy in my dream. And the one day when I woke up from that dream, it was right on me in front of my face, and then I woke up again. So I had a dream within a dream. But that gentleman, I can't recall if he had a hat or not. But you know what he reminded me of? Did you ever see Jeepers Creepers?
Mm-mm.
You never saw Jeepers Creepers?
Horror movies.
What
No.
about Jeepers Creepers? That movie, the shadow man who was in my dream looked like the outside of the creeper. Looked like if you saw the creeper in the dark, just that form. It kind of looked like that. Like
I
right.
know what the creeper looks like. So
Yeah, it's real. These guys
I
probably.
have info for you though on the Shadow Man and the Hat Man.
Yeah.
So at
Okay.
my
Go
previous
ahead,
home,
please do.
with the four main entities we had the one that referred that first appeared to me in a lucid dream about 16 years ago. It's like it happened 5-10 minutes ago, and referred to himself as a demon. I'm still not quite sure if he was, knowing now what I know, but he did give me a name, and he did spell it for me in his animal form. I'd never heard this name, came across it about 5 years later. Was that one of your kitties?
Mm-mm.
I just heard a meow. We better mark that. How far in are we? Let's
Oh,
see. I don't know how far in. Oh, we're at 17 minutes. I'm 17. Let me mark that. I just heard a big meow. 17, I'll say 40 seconds. I gotta check that afterwards. If there is an EVP, I'll post it, guys.
kitties are quiet.
Okay, so back to the Shadow Man. So we had this entity, and I know what he looks like the whole bit, but he also would always appear as a black mist. And I have not released some of those pictures, but I do have many a picture also on Paranormal Soup, Jason Bland. I used to call in every week on video, and you can go back through a lot of his old video clips and you can see all kinds of stuff going on in the background. Then we had a female shapeshifter that would mimic voices, would appear like looking identical to me, almost like what you might want to refer to as a doppelganger. Not quite, because there's all kinds of legend and lore around doppelgangers. Then we had a little guy that my boys and my partner Del referred to as the shy guy. And I have a picture of him. He looks like from Super Mario back in Nintendo, the oldie moldy. There was a little guy in the I guess in the game he'd look like he's maybe about a foot to a foot and a half tall, wearing the hood and robes of the Grim Reaper, but he almost had like a white, almost skull face, like the Jason hockey mask. And we would see that it would appear. But the fourth entity was the Shadow Man or Hat Man. Now I'm going to talk for a little bit. I apologize, Dave, but hang on. So I have a very good friend who used to be on this network and is now on Coast to Coast AM, Heidi Hollis. And Heidi Hollis has trademarked that. She was one of the first people to talk about it, to come out with it, to speak about it. She answers letters and questions from people about this. She's created even little books and comic. She's also a comic strip creator. I always say her muggle job, day job, and she's an occupational therapist. Now, her theory is that the Hat Man or Shadow Man is demonic. I'm just going to put what she puts out there with no judgment one way or the other. Many a person has seen him, including in my house, many of us, all four of us, had seen this thing, and he always appears to look like he's wearing a black outline of a fedora, a long rain slicker, almost, if you will, and he appears that way. And I have yet to hear one person say that the Hat Man or Shadow Man has been a positive experience. Now, I'm not saying everything in Shadow is negative, but
Yeah.
I tell you, when this particular character shows up, my kids would see it with red eyes, usually in the closet. There's a lot of chaos, a lot of issues. A lot of people have sleep paralysis, or he'll show up in dream states. He's not a good dude. And why does he always show up that way? Because I had Heidi on the Angel Rock. I've had her on a few times and asking her about it. But we ended up talking about other things because Heidi is such a fascinating lady to talk to. She's had so many incredible experiences. She is one of the people that is almost, I would say, a near-death experience, but not dying. Like literally standing up in college and having this incredible experience. Hi, Facebook user. Not sure who you are. You can let us know who you are if you've already gone to StreamYard.com/Facebook. Gave them permission to use your name and picture. We don't know who you are, so you can stay anonymous. You can head over there, or you can just put your name behind. But hi. So anyways, it's not a good entity, but let's talk about that for a sec. Why does he always appear same way, same hat, same outline? It almost looks like a rain slicker. It's about to his knees, and this fedora flat hat.
Well, I've heard with the hat, Shadow. I've heard negative experiences, of course, but I've heard experiences that were void of any negativity or positivity as well.
True.
What can happen? I haven't had anybody go, "Hey, the Hat Man came over and we played chess."
And rainbows and unicorns, and it was a party, and it was great. No, I've never heard that either.
We had a good time. But if that did happen, it would be me who did it. But the one that we watched in Nukes 5, now that one, if you guys watch it, I don't know if you're going to play it or not.
I didn't want to play it because I don't know how I'm sure he might be okay, but I didn't want to ask people. Hi, Ron Johns, welcome. I don't know how he would be okay about me replaying his content.
No, that's okay. That was, pardon my yawning. That one, that it wasn't. Well, of course, it was scary because of the kind of the show. Of course, you're going to put something in the background and make out a little mood to it. But he didn't. But I have to say, the guy who
that's classic Hat Man. That's classic Hat Man.
But the guy who was doing the from Nukes 5, he's not. He didn't do anything to make it scarier than it was. He just literally presented the information.
That guy was scared. You could tell. Hi, Sandra. We danced. It was divine. He's light on his feet, referring to Hat Man.
When I watched the video, it didn't. When he first came around, I had some questions about the video. First, I had some questions about it, but that's because I always do.
Thanks, Howie.
Now, as far as the video, I didn't find it. I know how it startled him, and yes, if I were him and I walked past a room and I saw what he saw, which was the literally outline of somebody with a hat on, you can't miss it. I mean, I even knew just by looking at it when he first saw it before they played it in slow motion. I'm like, oh, I saw that. And then he turned on the light, and of course, everything was completely gone. Now, the only thing, I mean, I don't know the whole context of the video. It didn't seem scary because of the fact he reacted as a jump scare, but then he turned on the light and he went through it. And yeah, I get it, but it didn't do anything to him. So I don't know if it's positive or negative.
He shouldn't have been there. I'm going to read Howie's comment. I'm going to post on our video. I'm going to post the. Oh, sorry, guys. Let me pause this. I used the wrong phone. I'm going to post the link to Nuke's Top 5, the latest video. Well, I think what freaked him out was, it sounds like from the history, from when I listened to it, this kid never had any paranormal activity. I don't know I forget, did he have the guys over or something, or it just got home?
What got me about the video. That's the only thing that got me about the video. I think it's a shadow dude. I really do. I didn't see anything that would make me think that it was a hoax at all. But if I had to be skeptical about something, the story went, he was videotaping his basement where his friends were going to come over and sleep.
That's what I thought it was. Okay.
And he was going to videotape the basement. The first thing I thought of was, why? And then I thought, well, I'm sure there's a
You're
reason.
going to find out why, because Howie,
Yeah.
I want to read his comments, but he says the house was experiencing very negative energy. I did not get that from the video, but Howie may know more about the house, maybe, or this case.
Oh, Lorilei, he's talking about his own personal experience, not the video.
Okay.
So in the video,
Okay, got you. You're right.
okay, so in the video,
That's why I didn't get it from the video then.
he's randomly showing his basement where him and his friends are going to be, which I guess if he was like 10 years old, I would understand why somebody would do that. Or he just thought it was cool. Or maybe he did that because he heard something down there earlier and was just filming it. Or
I have to give you that, Dave. I have to give you that. Like, why are you filming your basement?
that's the only thing that got me. That's my only thing about that video that I wondered about. The rest of it, I thought was pretty good. I thought it was pretty good.
Do you remember that video I sent to you here locally? I can't say too much because I've asked permission and they have not gotten back to me whether I can use this picture or not. That is what I would call one of the clearest pictures of a shadow person, not quite classic hat man. I don't know if he had a hoodie on or what, but that was pretty. I still have a lot of questions about that video as well. And I'm not being like we started the show out.
Yeah.
Debunk things, and I showed you that video. I can't show it, guys, because I've asked for permission. The person's not got back to me. They're experiencing all kinds of crazy activity, and it looks like the light switch it's on with this ring door camera they have sort of set up in the living room, and there's something hanging off the towel rack on this side, and when the lights either go on or off, that seems to be missing. It looks almost like a cut in the video. Now, the person that sent it to me, it's not the one experiencing the activity, says they didn't do anything, but there's definitely a cut in the video. But that is one of the biggest pictures.
Yeah, that's the only thing I look at. And we do try to, like, we look for stuff like that. I know you guys are like, why don't you just let it just be scared? Because that's not why we do this. We don't do it to be scared. It doesn't
We're
scare.
investigating.
Yeah, we're investigating. So that's what we want to look at. So like this one, and then we'll get to Howie's comment. With this shadow man, like I said, that was the only thing that really bothered me was his conversation.
I got to give you that, Dave. I got to give you that because you're right. Why?
Yeah, and did you hear his conversation while he was talking to himself in the beginning? And listen to that part of it. But the rest of it, pretty good because I mean, if they did do something, I don't know.
Have you ever seen the Ghosts of Carmel, Maine? Okay, that guy has got crazy stuff going on in his house. He's been featured on Nuke's Top 5. Now I'm sorry if I don't think he'll see this, but I find that he's kind of angry the way he comes off. But that guy has had videos go viral. And while he's been streaming, there is some kind of black shadow entity. I've seen almost ET stuff. I don't watch this guy all the time, but I've seen a few things. He's got crazy stuff, and he's had all kinds of investigators go to his house. I don't know what's going on. That's the name of the YouTube channel. God, I feel like an idiot. Thank God you're on the ball tonight, Dave, because I think I always was talking about the video we were talking about.
I have to say, with far as shadow people, I got two things to say. Shadow people, I have something I thought about shadow people too. Are they shadow people? But I have to say, as far as my blanket's falling down, that's why I'm lifting it up. I'm not trying to fly or anything. Is shadow people, I suppose if we're going to see something that is making a form in its energy, that just might be how we see that energy. It looks like
you're on the same ball with what I was thinking. And this is why I don't necessarily agree that everything in shadow is negative. It depends who you talk to, because it takes a lot of energy for entities or humans that choose not to leave or whatever it is to manifest themselves. Now, what if you've got something that, just like you said, either the way we're seeing it or they've got just enough energy to be able to manifest in the shadow form rather than in full solid body form or detail?
And we have to ask ourselves too, are we actually seeing something manifest into a form? Or are we actually getting something to slip their dimension next to us, and that's how we can proceed from that dimension too?
Oh, that's a good thought. I never thought.
We don't know. We don't know. And I'm happy not knowing that way because I like giving, I mean, one day someone will tell us all this stuff and we'll figure it out.
That's what I say. When we all go back home, we'll know all this stuff. But I can tell you, we had the Hat Man, Shadow Gut Man, whatever you want to call him. Hat Man, though, it's a real distinct form. I'm going to read. Do you want to read Howie's comment or you want me to?
Oh, go ahead. Go right ahead on.
So Howie says, I will give personal experience of Hat Man. Investigation in Fredericksburg, Virginia. The house was experiencing off and bad trauma. We were taking a break. Hang on, I got to highlight this one. Sitting on the front porch and watched the figure run across in front of us. Myself and another watched this figure in awe. Hang on, we got another comment. The house was experiencing very negative energy. Not that comment was meant for part of this story. If you're tuning in or on the replay, I screwed that one up. Thank God Dave's here. And then I'll get to the next one. Thanks, Howie, for sharing this. He says, found that the owner was practicing dark Wiccan. So was it stalker or did she create the energy to manifest Hat Man? By the way, is Hat Man our modern Slender Man? I say no. But let me finish your comment. And then I'd love to share. And then Dave, you feel free to share what you think. Just sharing and getting you guys open. Perhaps we should talk about this on Forbidden Door. Yeah, that's the series that Howie started with Dave and I think it's Rhonda, his co-host. Please correct me, Howie, if I'm wrong. And then he asked the question, Dave, are misunderstanding some or most spirits? Are they ghosts or spirits? Are we missing a key? And is it alien activity? I think both of us are even open to that, right? It could be.
Yeah.
It just depends because, okay, so when you asked about Slender Man, before, if you want to think about that question, Dave, because Slender Man, I believe, just my thoughts, I don't know all the answers, and I sometimes forget to remind you guys, Dave and I are not experts. We're sharing with you what our own personal experiences are and what we receive from spirit. Now, I believe Slender Man is a tulpa, if you will, that it started on a creepypasta. People were talking about it. People were drawing it. They were doing all this stuff. And all of a sudden now people have experiences with Slender Man, with, I just heard of a very tragic story of a bunch of little 12-year-old girls that were just absolutely obsessed and figured if they took their little friend's life that they would make Slender Man appear. So I don't know. Now, as I'm thinking and I'm hearing from Spirit, Howie, you could be on to something. Is this a more modern form? I don't know. I'd love to hear Dave's thoughts.
Well, let me see. Let me got Dave. Are misunderstanding some or
I just read that to you. So do you want to tell? That's another question, kind of from what we're building off of. So do you want?
That's a different question.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're talking strictly about Slender Man.
Yeah, I'll highlight his comment, his question he put here. By the way, it's at the end of this. By the way, is Hat Man our modern Slender Man?
Is Hat Man our modern? No, I don't think so. I think they're two separate things.
I do think they're two separate things.
Yeah.
Because Hat Man has been around for a long time.
Listen, this part I do know. I do know this, whether you believe me or not, but it's what I've been told and what I know about this. It's something, I'm not saying this is Hat Man, but I'm going to use Hat Man just for, having to have a point of reference. So say I've never heard of Hat Man, but I've seen some shit. I've got spooky stuff happen around me. And then I happen to talk to other people who have saw a Hat Man who kind of resembles what I saw. And, and then when I see mine, all of a sudden it's wearing a hat that has Hat Man. Now, two things could have happened. If the energy everybody's dealing with, it's the same energy, isn't just one person's energy. So the same Hat Man could be visiting me in the States, Lorilei in Canada, somebody in England, and somebody in Germany. It doesn't matter because once we're non-physical, you can go wherever the hell you want. And then the thing is, we can only see or perceive from what we know, which means if we never saw, if we were a child and never saw a movie on Hatman or never saw a movie on nothing or never had anybody tell us anything about that, one, it's going to be difficult for us to even have an experience outside of what reality is. But if we did, we might see something totally different until we learn what it is. Energies can present themselves in whatever form they need to. If it knows, if this energy, let's say, is negative and wants to scare you, it's going to be able to go through your mind and go, oh, Lorilei's afraid of shadow figures with hats. So it could show itself like that just for that fact, if that was its intention. So,
Okay, but let me stop you for just one sec. Let's flip that a little bit. Then why are multitudes of people, like not every second person, but I'm talking on a global population, how he's added documentation from ASSAP shows evidence of Hatman in Europe since the mid 1800s. Why is this particular figure appearing always, if you're going to be talking about Hatman, with the flat fedora, almost with the brim, long brim, and then the long, it's like a rain slicker coat. You can see
no, I get that.
just to the knee.
I'm not sure why it would always present themselves, but let's take angels for existence. Let's take angels. Angels, the first sightings, whatever, were biblical, and they put angels with wings that made them look like these certain people. Yeah. So when we talk to most people nowadays and they say, I saw an angel, what did it look like? It was really tall and it had wings and it had this and that. Now, I saw angels real time. They don't have wings,
but they don't have a gender either, right?
They don't have a gender, but they're going to present themselves to however we need to see them. Like I said, it's from our perceptions. So I wondered if Hatman, like you said, a tulpa, somebody saw it. It may have, or Slender Man, I should say.
Yeah, but people aren't wanting. Okay, let's go back to Hatman though, because I hear your analogy and I agree 100%, especially working in palliative care. And I always say to people, if you have a family member or a loved one or somebody that's high vibrational, I'm going to use somebody instead of, I don't like the word entity for high vibrational, they will appear to you in a way that's pleasing, that's not going to scare you, or whatever your thoughts or belief system are, so that you can accept it and realize and experience it. But with the Hatman, most people aren't looking for the Hatman. There are people that are, but so people that experience it.
I agree with you, and that's the wrench in my theory. I'm going to put that's the wrench in my theory because I'm waiting to see how many people were documented seeing Hatman who have no contact of.
We had no idea who Hatman was, and this is the weird thing.
That's the wrench in the system.
Told me things right away when they would happen. I still get snarky sometimes, not often, but I'll say paranormal activity only happens when it happens to you, because that's how cynical he is, and he's got to question everything. But my thing is, he saw this. My eldest saw this. My youngest, who is limited,
I never saw it before. That kind of throws my theory out.
We all saw it, not at the same time. We weren't in the same room. We all had different experiences, and we were all describing exactly the same figure. So, and we were looking for this. We weren't. It was like, what the heck? Why are we seeing this thing? Why does it look the same to all of us? We're not seeing it at the same time. And then that's why I started looking up doppelgangers. Even just, I'm not trying to get off topic here quickly. Why was this thing taking my form? And like to the length of my hair in the back, what I was wearing. I have crazy stories out of that house, and Spirit's been giving me the little needling. Like, Laura, you keep saying you're writing these books. I've got the outlines. I got to get these books written, the 3 of them, but especially this one, because this is a crazy story.
We just never know as far as like Hatman goes. I can't put my finger on it, but you know,
well, it can't really be a tulpa, right? Like we knew Slender Man came from a story, or could it be from a story? You're right, like from around the campfire, people talking about this. Somebody, just because people talk about like Slender Man in a creepy story doesn't mean that you didn't have creepy stories way back then either. Hi, Liam Morgan.
Or even if I look at it this way too, because I remember this. Do you remember when the first movie Poltergeist? Did you ever see the first Poltergeist? That movie. Poltergeist. Okay, you remember the old man in Poltergeist?
I saw it when I was a kid. That's how long ago it
The
was.
old man who was trying to get that little girl, the ghost or whatever it was, or knock on the door and show himself, was a very, very, very old man. He was a preacher, and guess what? He was wearing all black and he wore a black rimmed hat. After that movie, a lot of people started seeing that shadow figure as that. Now, that I'm not saying they never did and they were scared from the movie, but what I am going to say is if they were to see something that's negative, that thing is going to know, oh, we know what scares them. Boop, and that's it. Because I really do believe that some of the things we say, some of the things that we see, either the entity already knows what is scaring us, or
I agree. You go to the Harry Potter movie and it's a boggart, right? And
yeah,
people see what they're afraid of, and they're being taught the ridiculous spell to get rid of it, right? But they always see the same thing. That's what I'm saying. It doesn't make sense.
it doesn't make sense. And there are people that I know personally, well, I don't know them real well, who have saw this thing or called me and described it, and I thought, have you? And I'll ask people, have you ever seen the movie Poltergeist? When they tell me no. Have you ever seen? And I'll think of all the scary movies I saw with something that resembles that, and ask if they've ever saw that, because I do know there's a lot of people out there who will see something and that will stay in their mind, and that image is going to be.
Yeah.
But some of these people have not seen scary movies, and they saw Hat Man, or they saw, and I'm like, well, I can't explain it then to you. Because
I don't know that, and that's been my question about it. Like, why? Like, why?
I will say though, I don't
get what you're saying. Like, you could have a collection of people that, or an entity, especially if it's malevolent or has bad intentions. It's going to know exactly what you're afraid of, and it's going to make sure, especially if it's hungry and it wants to feed. Best source of food for something like that is low.
Hungry wants to feed everybody listening. We're talking about energy. Like energy vampires. But what was I going to say? The thing that I don't find though, I've spoken to many people who saw shadow figures, not all hat men, but shadow figures. I don't believe that they're all demonic.
That's where I was going with this too, because I've had this discussion in the past. I'm always say it's not my job to judge, but I have met people who insist if it's a shadow, it's negative. I don't think that we can make that blanket statement.
We can't, because all energy is neutral until we endow it with something.
No, I agree 100%. And that's always been puzzling to me. And like I said, the fact that 4 people in a home experience this entity that we've never heard of, like I only knew the name, and like you got to remember, Dave, when this started in my house, like I always had strange and weird things around me, but I never went. We always say we never went looking for the paranormal; it found us. I didn't know any of this stuff. Like it was like a 20-hour a day. I'm not kidding. Researching, and I literally started locally, went out, and then went globally. And the more you open Pandora's box. I don't know why we're getting a bit of feedback there. Are you hearing that? I hope other people aren't.
Not on my side. It's very little. It's very light.
Yeah. The more I opened that door, the more I realized how vastly, immensely, eternally massive it is compared to what we consider life on Earth here.
Yeah. There's a lot of unknown things, and we can't. I mean, and now we know more and more. Scientists know more and more. We know even scientists know that everything in the world is energy, and energy can't have a form. I mean, hello, we're that.
Okay, wait, you know what? Okay, so I was reading about an interesting theory on this, and I've sort of seen it off and on throughout the years, that if everything is just energy, right? And energy is made up of particles, ions, positive, negative, what have you, right? There's still a little bit of space in between always. But I was seeing, and this is an interesting thought, people are putting out the theory that the reason why we're solid is because why we have solid things like tables and walls and what have you, because we've agreed as a collective while we're here, or when we incarnate here, that certain things will have form and shape and what have you. But I guess maybe if we all agreed when we incarnated here that we could really all walk through walls or go through whatever, I don't know. It was an interesting theory.
We can't. Yeah, it is a theory because it's true. We all have agreed on things. We all, if we all didn't agree, there was the Great Wall of China. There'd be people out there going, "I do not know what you're talking about." You know, we all knew that was going to be there. We all knew certain things are going to be there. We all knew, and there are things we have agreed upon. But I do think that and I want to add this into Howie's question here too, which is if man never had imagination, would we have half of the spirit activity we have now? Sits down in the stump and says, I can answer that for
I
you.
have
Well,
an answer too.
yeah, we both have answers for you. It's your lucky day, Howie.
When do we not?
What I know about people, how people are, how spirit and soul and all that kind of works. We come here, our ego mind is not something that we carry with us after here. The ego mind I equate to the left brain. So the left brain is the logical brain. 2 plus 2 is 4. Helps you learn mathematics, put together a building, all these other stuff. None of those things could be done without the imagination, because everything that you see in front of you, the house you live in, this computer screen you're looking at, somebody imagined it one day and then it was.
Absolutely agree 100%.
So, but if you will find, to answer your question, Howie, there are many people who have half-assed imaginations. Everything's always an imagination, and no, they're never going to see anything because they don't use that side of their brain. For something like what I do, or what you do, Howie, or what Lorilei does, we have to use the right side of our brain. That is our sole connection to everything on the other side. It has everything to do with the right side of the brain, the imagination part. If you can imagine it, like they say, if you can imagine it, it can be made. It can be there. And as far as like touching things and solid. I don't know how all that works, but I do know just from the scientific part, we've never ever actually touched our two fingers together. It's still not touching because all the molecules are always moving because we are not solid. We're actually molecules. They're vibrating so slowly.
I was going with this. Yeah.
Yeah, that's why we feel solid. If we were in 5D, you know how everybody says, "Oh, 5 signs are in 5D." Well, here's one: walk through the wall and you don't have a body. That's 5D right there. You don't have in the fifth dimension. You don't need those things. So I agree with you, and I agree with
I
everything.
have a different answer though.
Oh, what's your answer?
Okay, so if I agree 100% with what you're saying, but also if we think about it when we're mentoring and teaching people, first of all, there's two schools of thoughts here. First of all, the first thing that we teach people, I think, is to get in touch with that right brain, if you will. Okay.
Yeah.
Or if you're left-handed, they say you're wired a little differently. I'm left-handed. So they say always the left is the right and right is the left. That's another scientific theory. My whole point is we teach people to start using their imagination because, right, we are so powerful as manifestors with our thoughts, our words, and our emotions. We think it and it's done. We believe it and it's done. It happens, right? So going along that thought, not so much on the imagination part. When we get into energy, right? And I know you said it's neither negative or positive or anything like that until we assign negative or positive. But where I'm going with this is not everybody has high vibrational thoughts. Not everybody has high vibrational words, actions, and every piece of that, whatever we do, has to go somewhere because one of the laws of energy is it can neither be created nor destroyed, but it can be transferred from one place to another. So I think imagination does play a bit of a part, but I also think that it's our physicality of being here and what we think and what we say and what we do that can also create some of these negative things that collectively start to develop. And whether they go to a lower astral realm, whether they go into another dimension, things that people possibly call demons. I was doing a bit of research on the word tulpa because there's other words for it, obviously. And one of the older words is, some people call it a demon, but it's Daemon. Very interesting, right? But my whole thing is, I can't say that the activity only comes from imagination. I think it also comes from our thoughts, our words, and our emotions. Does that make sense, or am I talking all woo-woo?
No, it's the same thing though. I see. I look at, well, no, I guess not. It all depends on how you
I'm
look at it.
thinking of a murderer. Okay, we're using human judgment here, not who we really are from a soul perspective, or somebody that's a sadist and has done a horrible thing to a whole group of human beings. Okay,
Yeah,
that
there are
would
some
be a
people who there are
vibration coming from
some
hate.
people who do stick. There are some people that, like, I know people who are total left brain, which means if you said close your eyes and imagine an ocean, they'll be like, I don't know, I can't do that. I just want to go to work and solve problems.
Mhm.
Leave me alone. I mean, they want nothing to do with that. But that again is in these things too. We imprint ourselves when we get here. So if you come in here and you are raised by parents who never taught you about imagination, those are the ones who taught you to stay inside the lines when you color. You can't go outside the lines. That's wrong. That's this and that.
I think you're missing my point though, because I'm going to read this question again. Howie asks, if man never had imagination, would we have half of the spiritual activity we have now sits down on a stump?
We
So,
wouldn't have any.
okay, so that's where I'm going with this. I don't think it's just solely based on imagination. I think it's also, while we're here, our thoughts, our words, and our emotions, which also can create something in the way of an entity. I'm talking about, and say they're a sadist, they're a murderer, they've got nothing but hate in their heart, really low vibrational energy, and including thoughts. Those all have to go somewhere, right? Because it's energy. So
Yeah.
I think that that's part of how we create tulpas, is what I'm saying. So I can't say that all spiritual activity, whether we want to call it positive, negative, paranormal, whatever we want to do, is only based on imagination. Does that make sense?
Well, it does. Except the only thing I'm trying to do is because see, it might maybe it's because of my frame of thinking, how I think. Without the imagination,
It's interesting. We think so differently sometimes.
that's okay. Without imagination, for me, none of this exists. If there was no imagination, nothing exists because you have to be able to imagine these things. It doesn't just
Absolutely.
pop in front of you.
But is it imagine or is it thought? I guess it's semantics, right?
I guess that's probably a better way to put it that way. It's thoughts. I get what you mean now. When I put it into a thought language, it's different. As far as imagination goes, I say if there were no imagination, there wouldn't be any such ghosts or spirits or God or the Bible or angels or anything. We need that imagination for that.
Okay, but think about this, Dave. When you're doing a guided meditation, I know you do this, right? We know there are people that can't imagine. So we'll say imagine, sense, or feel. Like we don't always just say imagine because some people can't, right? Or even to the point that if you have to look at a picture of it, right? Because everybody uses their senses differently.
I
So I
think
don't
I
go
think
ahead.
everybody can imagine something though. I think some people, because when I
But
ask
you'll get people that'll say, I can't. And as soon as somebody says, I can't, they've closed that doorway, right?
exactly,
Yeah.
and I think that has to do with it. But I think that has to do with then the left mind. Do you think kicks in when you say I can't? Doesn't the left mind go? That's right. You tell them you can't because we don't want to go there and
Or
experience
is it the ego?
that. Well, the ego to me is the left mind,
Okay.
but that's just how I think of it. But we
We're
need
having
our
such a cool
ego.
conversation. Hi, Brandy Reader.
Yeah, we love having these. We're not just going down the
We
rabbit hole.
have these conversations off air too,
Yeah,
guys.
we do it all the time. So I get what you mean, though. I do it all. It is like you said. It's all about semantics and how we present it in that one. But yeah, I
I
guess
think we're saying the same thing.
I think we're saying the same thing too. We're just saying it differently. I think that I think we do need imagination in order to see spirits and everything else.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Absolutely. I'm
you
saying
have
no
to
with my head, but yes,
but I do
absolutely.
understand if you have no imagination and you're a killer, I guess you could just be logical. Logically, you'd be working then like maybe like some animals would should be like, I don't like this negative thing in my space. I don't like this energy in my space. I'm gonna kill it. Boom. I
You
don't
know
know.
what, though, looking into the psyche of it, and no, I don't ever want to be in the side of somebody's brain, but when you look at it and you start looking at it, and when psychologists and people that work in that field, because as I've said numerous times on the show, I'm also look at true crime, is that there's usually a personality disorder. The empathy is missing, which is very intriguing, right? Because as human beings, I know we're all born with empathy and without hate. But also it becomes a fantasy, from what I understand. As a serial killer, it becomes a fantasy, and it's almost like an addiction.
Yeah.
It's crazy when you start looking into this, and I know you can't paint everybody with the same brush, but that's what I was talking about, these really horrific, evil, dark thoughts that I agree that I would say most human beings would probably agree, because like you said, it's neither positive nor negative till we assign a
Sign it. Yeah.
to it. But I would think most empathetic human beings would agree it's pretty dark and evil and twisted.
I think maybe serial killers and stuff. Ooh, let's talk about that. Yeah, I think serial killers. I know me and Lorilei. Let's talk about something creepy. Serial killers to me, sometimes I think serial killers do have imagination, but they lack
Oh boy, do they have imagination. Oh,
empathy and they lack social skills. A lot of people who lack social, there's very few murderers that had really good social skills.
I'm gonna back up on you with that.
But hold on a minute. I
BTA,
didn't let me finish. They had very low social skills, but they were really good at pretending to be someone in front of other people. You know what I'm saying?
okay,
Like,
so is it
I
learned?
can't believe he's always, it was so nice. I can't believe he offed his entire family and half the neighborhood. He was always so sweet.
Ted
That's
Bundy,
fake.
and he apparently, yes, had social issues, but BTK has been in the news a lot. For those of you who don't know who that is, he gave himself that moniker, and he was in Kansas. His real, or I guess it stands for bind, torture, and KILL. He was a monster, but he was also a family man. And his daughter, give her a lot of credit, she's been speaking out for the victims and also for um, the families that know nothing about what their loved one is doing. They live a double life, for example. But it was interesting what her father labeled what he could do. He wrote a book with Dr. Catherine Ramsland, and he calls it cubing. So he could flip so quickly that he could show you the side that needed to be seen. So there was the work side. At home there was the dad side. As I think he was a city bylaw officer, there was that side to him. He was a church elder, there was that side to him. And we're seeing this with this very sad case in Long Island with Rex Huberman, and that guy is an architect. And like, people were just like, what, this is who this guy is? Like, you know what I'm saying? So I've been seeing, not everybody, I agree with what you're saying, but there are many out there, depending on who they are and sort of what characteristics is. I watch a lot of profilers. And the reason why I watch this is, it's, first of all, I think to get into the psyche of people, like, why are you thinking like this? Like, what went wrong? And
Yeah.
you know what I mean? So I
No,
hear
I
what
do.
you're saying, though, and I have to agree with what you're saying as well.
And serial killers are also weird because look at, now I know a lot of people watched all the Jeffrey Dahmer stuff. I grew
Oh,
up,
that was just horrific. Oh,
where Jeffrey Dahmer was, and I saw him in the nightclubs, and
oh, did you, Dave?
Mhm. I just saw him a couple times just from a distance, and I didn't know who he was at the time.
Thank
But
God.
but
Thank God. Thank God, Dave.
that's okay. That's okay. I was way too old for him. Um,
That's true.
the thing is, Jeffrey Dahmer, what a lot of people don't know, or what a lot of people always think, they're like, oh, he was gross, he was cool, and he was cruel, and he did all this. Okay, yeah, he was cruel, but the one thing Jeffrey Dahmer didn't do to his victims, he didn't torture them. He only took them home and he drugged them. It wasn't until after they were already gone that he did all the stuff he did, which
What
was
about the little 13-year-old boy that he did what he
uh,
did?
I was Sensei Capone. No, that everybody blew it all out of the water. I was there. I remember the day that he ran out. He was wrapped in a blanket, and he was kind of drugged up a little bit, and he wanted to go home. And the policeman screwed up. And back then, they didn't care anything about gay people. They just said, "Oh, it's just some dude with his boyfriend."
And
And they sent that little boy right back into his arms. If they would have did something that day, and those police officers had to live for this for the rest of their lives. But if they would have did something that day, that little boy would still be alive. But they were just drugged. I mean, he didn't have a thing, and even when they interviewed him, he didn't beat them. He didn't do
no,
anything.
well, he did one of his victims. He got so drunk that he woke up the next morning. One of his first victims, he did.
It might have been his first one. They got in a fight or something. But
No,
otherwise,
he didn't remember. He had drank so much that he didn't remember. He was
his whole
horrified.
his whole thing was he craved love or something like
He
this, and he
didn't want them to leave him.
parents and so his thing was when the only way he thought he could keep these people with him
Yep.
was for him to kill them, and then he had felt a need for them to be part of him, and that's
And
why he
eat
started
them.
eating them.
Mhm.
And that's gross enough, and I don't like to talk about that. It's terrible. I'm not saying it's anything bad, but I am letting you know that particular serial killer wasn't really into the torturing thing. His was something totally different. Now, like BK and Geen, all those guys tortured people.
Mhm.
And I am a big believer. If you ever believed, and they used to talk about the deadly sins or the unforgivable sins.
Mhm.
One of the unforgivable sins, and almost I don't know if it's in our today's Bible, but it was written way back then. Unforgivable sins are the torture of people, older people, animals, and children. Those are supposed to be the unforgivable sins. I don't think they're unforgivable by any means, on however that goes. But I think if you torture people, I mean, you literally have to go back through that yourself at some
Well,
point.
then what do you think about this? There's a nurse. I've never seen a case take so long, but over in the UK, and it really it 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 got to me today. Yeah, and I'm going to mention some of my favorite channels if you're wondering why I watch these. There's Grizzly True Crime with Gisela K on YouTube. I love her because she only goes by facts that she gets, and she spends hours of research, and it's completely focused on the victims.
Mhm.
Supporting the victims. The other one, it's called STS Nation, or Surviving the Survivor. He used to work for big networks, and now he does true crime. And I really enjoy his channel too. He's
You
really
know,
does research, has good, and they'll have a panel and they'll talk about this, right? Trying to understand the psyche behind this. And again, it's not for everybody. And I don't like to hear the gross details. I don't need to hear that. I'm trying to understand whatever compels a human being
to do what they do.
Okay, so today on Surviving the Survivor, they covered a nurse who I think was in her early 20s when she graduated.
Mhm.
She worked in the NICU, and I did. And I actually wrote this in the comments. I can't stand to hear anybody cry, especially babies or children. It hurts my soul. Like even my own children, I rocked every night because it literally, I don't know what it is. And it's not grating on my ears or anything. It literally rips my soul apart to hear someone cry. This nurse killed so many babies, like preemies, and she targeted like triplets and twins and stuff. And I just kept going, what the heck would
Yeah,
ever possess you to do something like that? That's what I'm trying to understand. What goes wrong there?
I don't understand, and I do have to say from the beginning, you guys, if you ever go look at the serial stuff, don't forget about the victims because they need to be remembered.
Always, 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 always.
Because we don't, otherwise, we're always making everything about the bad people and never about the victims.
That's what it is, right? And you'll hear like how many of them, even in the last 2 centuries, have been, arrested. And the first thing they say, is it on the news? Is it on the news yet?
Oh, people can be awful. We have it here, and I can only say so much because I know we're on YouTube. But I mean, even on TikTok and even on this, we have clergy people on videos saying round up gay people and put a bullet in their head. I mean, these are supposed to be people who are representing some sort of love, and they're doing this stuff. I've always wondered if those people are talking like that, is it any wonder that a serial killer is going to get pushed over the edge to do stuff? Well, he's talking about that all the time, and he won't do it, so I'm going to do it for him. Or you wonder. I think that a lot of times when people talk about, oh, we have the freedom of speech, I said, yeah, we have freedom of speech, but I think we should also have consequences for speech that causes people to do stuff. But serial killers, they've got a whole nother brain going. I don't even know that I want to know what's going on in their head. And I'm sure, because like I tell people, we've all been a serial killer, we've all been the murderer, we've all been murdered, we've all gone through all
Okay,
those things.
okay. That's interesting with the fact that yes, if you get into past lives, but I can tell people, hi, Laura, just listening while getting ready, going out for Donnie's birthday. Happy birthday, Donnie. That's Debbie Schmoley, and that's her significant other. And she says, sending love. We're sending happy birthday to Donnie. And we won't keep on this topic, guys, because these guys are kind of quiet in the chat. So, but let's back up a little bit to the shadow people, because there was another shadow video on Nuke's Top 5. Did you see it? It was my boys. It was their show. I watched it when it came out. Did you see it?
Guys, okay. I know they're your
Paranormal Nightmare with the Foreman brothers.
and I enjoyed it for a minute. That I think in the beginning, I kind of like in the very beginning, the way he started talking, I'm like, why are you doing that? There's no reason for that. But then I understood the context of it later on. I think I might have missed.
You have to see the whole episode.
That's why I said, I stopped and I said, these guys are going in and out of what they're doing, so I don't think I got the whole context of the beginning. That was a good one, though. The only thing that I thought was weird, and I wish they would elaborate on, I don't think those guys would have just told that lady, oh, here's some holy water. We saged it. We're leaving.
Oh, no. Okay, so then I got to give you the context. I got
it. I was going to say, it didn't put that's the only thing that I wanted to argue with Nuke about putting that one in there. I'm like, you need to have more context, because from the context you showed, it looks like these idiots came in, screamed at a ghost, pissed it off, got all this stuff on, had something scare them, and left this poor woman alone in her house while they
not even close.
I'm like, no.
Okay, so I'm going to give you the context.
Yeah,
okay?
what's the context of it?
You guys hear me talk about these guys a lot. I have so much respect for them. It's 3 brothers who went through hauntings as young children themselves. That's why you see the guy in the video, Sean, who just about jumps out of his skin. When I get to this part in the story, I'll explain it. Anyways, they go around and they have a TV show. I believe somebody in the chat here let us know. I didn't know where because I don't have cable, but I think it's on Nat Geo. Anyways, they release a new video. There'll be one tomorrow night. I think it's 8 or 9 o'clock. And then usually on Saturdays, they stream live and show you what they're filming. And they were at CrimeCon last week, so they weren't able to stream. They still stream live. They just didn't do an investigation. So this investigation, they went to, and this woman's had a tough life. And her ex, I guess, killed her daughter and her son most recently, and he's on the run. And she lives in a very rundown neighborhood. She's actually quite religious, but she's got crazy activity, like crazy. And I like these guys because I do believe they're doing it for the right reasons. And I don't think they're faking what they're faking. I can't speak for the TV show. I'm just telling you what I've seen. I followed them for quite a few years. These guys went to see her 3 weeks before this incident happened that Nuke's Top 5 showed. All 3 of those guys were crying. And I'm not talking like fake tears. It was breaking their hearts because they had to leave. Her ex was on the loose and they didn't know if he was coming. There was a really rough crowd gathering and their safety was at risk. And Josh is the one that usually he blesses the house with holy water, prayers. Rocky, the oldest brother, and Sean teach them how to do daily cleansings and blessings, and they provide aftercare, the whole bit. So they promised this lady, they said, I'm so sorry, we can't stay. Like this, in all the years we've been doing this, we can't stay. And this lady felt so abandoned. They showed all this with her permission. She was begging them to help her. She had nobody to help her. So what happened was they did go back at risk for their own, and I believe them for what they were saying, because they showed the news reports, like this guy was still on the loose. They went in there and they documented some pretty crazy activity.
I thought that the guy had already hurt him and the children and left her alone.
Yeah, he left her alone. Yeah, they weren't children, but he had taken her daughter, and I don't know if he went to jail for it, for manslaughter or something. And he had just recently taken the life of her. Her son was, I think, like an older teenager or early 20s, and he was on the loose. He was running from the law, so he was still around there. And she lived in a pretty.
I could have swore it was a MS.
MS.
Mur and Sue.
No.
I didn't. Oh, maybe I heard that wrong.
No. And so what happened was they went back to help her. and they told her, they said, I told you we weren't going to leave you on your own. She had their number if they needed her, and they were following up with her. And this woman has no money. I think her phone went out of order. They didn't know what happened to her. This is the story of the episode. I'm not going to give everything away. They went in there, and what they usually do, they do an interview with the client. Then they have the client leave, and they do their own investigation throughout the house, and they document what they see. And then the last part of the episode is showing them cleansing the house. And if they don't have a follow-up, they'll tell you they don't have a follow-up that will keep you updated, or they'll update you with the outcome. When the clip on Nuke's Top 5, when Sean, who is the baby brother and the one that he is the biggest scaredy cat you've ever seen, and he can't figure out why, to realize he was the one, he had a almost like a possession as a tween, and what these boys all went through growing up when you get into their story. Anyways, I guess the energy was so heavy in this house that, plus they brought the homeowner, I think they said her name Deb, they brought her into the home to interact with what was there, like on ITC, and there were cameras and the whole bit. So they were sitting out in the car because, again, the energy was so heavy. I don't think Rocky could make it, the oldest, either. It was just Sean and Josh. They were sitting in the car and they were listening to the interactions and what was going on with the homeowner. So they weren't paying attention to what was going on around them. And what ended up happening in this clip is there was such a huge bang on the car on Sean's side of the window, was passenger side in the front, that the car shook, because they go back in the episode and they show you, but Sean just about jumps out of his skin and has a cardiac arrest, but you see the shadow go past the window, right? So that was the whole context. They don't just leave people like, here's some holy water, see ya.
Do you know what I maybe somebody has, and I think the Dead Files came close. I wasn't a fan of the Dead Files.
No, I wasn't either.
I met some of those people too, and I can tell you that a little suspect to me. But anyway, I've wanted to see, but it probably wouldn't be good for TV, and it's probably why they wouldn't do it, was call in a team like, hey, you guys, this house has activity. Go in there and go get everything you get before they know anything about any stories, anything. And then after they're done doing that at night, they come into the kitchen with the people who investigated the house and the people who lived at the house. And then they start going, this is what we found in here. Because I want to hear somebody in the home going, I have no clue what you're talking about, because we keep seeing this little devil running back and forth, and you keep seeing this. I want to see if we can get people's stories to go together that way to see. I know that's why I said, because some, not like your guys, but I've seen so many of those crappy paranormal investigators. I like those guys that you had. That was enjoyable to watch because they were getting evidence and they were genuinely scared.
And they get nothing.
Yeah, and it was, and they had a lot of stuff that even if I was there, I mean, I was telling people I don't really get scared of ghosts, which I don't, but I do get freaked out too when something comes back over.
Josh doesn't get scared of anything. He's a little guy, and when he gets scared, you know some stuff is going on.
I had my name said over an EVP a few times, and it is kind of weird. You're like, oh, they know me, but I just it's the ones I see, they hear, oh yeah, we're going in this house, and here's the background. The lady in the house keeps seeing a child in this room, and this happened in the house, and this and that. So now they just told these investigators, who we don't know if they have any psychic abilities, they might just be investigators. They go in there, what do you think they're going to find?
Exactly what they were just told.
Exactly what they were just told to find. But that's why I said, unless they're a good team, like those two, like the brothers, that's a good team. They were just doing their thing. That was probably one of the most honest ones I saw, even though some of it I thought was a little funny. And then not because they were trying to be funny, but I was looking at it going, I would totally put it.
Yeah, but you know what they do that's funny too, and you have siblings, most of us do. Like, okay, so they know maybe one of them is getting touched. So they'll say, like, they'll be in there. And like I said, Sean is the biggest scaredy cat you've ever seen. And he'll tell them, like, can you do that again? And he'll say, I get scared real easy though. And like you could tell this guy is scared. You could tell in that video, like if his heart could have flew out of it.
Getting touched by an entity, which I do know happens at times. I don't believe that they do all the stuff they do.
House.
But
Josh left. He kept getting touched, and he usually does not get touched. But what they'll do is, what I'm trying to say is, they'll say, "Hey, because Josh makes them do alones, because Rocky and Sean don't like doing alone things. They don't like going in there, but they will for their team together, right? So like the guys will be out in the car while one of them goes into the house, and the two other brothers will go, okay, well, while you're in there, go ahead and touch Josh. Why don't you knock his hat off? Why don't you, like, just typical brother stuff, right? Like, pick on my brother. All three of them will be in there. If you're going to pick on someone, pick on Rocky, or like, it's kind of funny, like it's brother stuff, right?
That's what happened to me when I was touched a couple times. It started out as a joke, somebody saying something, and all of a sudden, I mean, it was on film. I mean, you can see my shirt move. And then I was like, don't do that again. I said, stop it. I don't like that. And right afterwards, it grabbed me on my side. And I was like, son of a bee. And, it's like, stop. And it was weird. It was weird. Although I have to say, if it happened now, if I was alone, it'd probably bother me.
I don't like it. I've been touched enough, and I don't know.
Yeah. I would probably look at him nowadays and go, dude, I don't let real people touch me.
You're just reading my mind, because I am not a touchy-feely person. I don't know what it is being an empath. I've never been that way. I don't like people touching me. I'm not going to be mean about it. I'll just usually back away. Like, don't get me wrong. If I know you well and I love you, like I really love you, I don't have a problem giving you a hug or something, but I don't like when people I don't know touch me. So I certainly don't want something that maybe I can't see touching me. Yeah.
I know. I remember when we went to Brandy. If Brandy's still on here, when we went by Brandy Reader the first time, and the Booth brothers were there with Rachel, very sweet people, everything. But I walked into the room, and that little Rachel standing there, and she goes, "Hi!" And she grabbed me, gave me a big hug. She goes, "I'm a hugger," and I'm just standing there going, I
don't think people understand that if you're really sensitive to energy, and I'm not one that really considers myself that, till when people touch you that you didn't invite into your personal space. And I'm not going to say to somebody, dude, get out of my personal space. I'm not going to say that, but I literally stiffen, because it's almost like nails on a chalkboard to me. I don't know. I'm sure everybody experiences it differently, but if
you've ever watched, and you wouldn't know it from seeing me on here, but if you ever watched, like, what is that called? The Big Bang Theory. I'm a lot like Sheldon in touching. Okay. I'm like, it's like, I don't know why.
But maybe it's because, like, think about it, right? Where, like, I wouldn't say that you're the type of person, knowing you as a friend and everything, that you are super uber sensitive to everything. But I don't think we think about it, right? Because it's how we live life. And where I find it out is when I've gone, say, to a conference or something, and I'll say, I love people. I love being around people. And then when you're around people all day long, it's like, holy crap, I just need some time to be alone. I need to do a bit of meditation. I need some alone time. And you don't realize it.
After I do like live readings, in-person readings, or when I do gallery readings, when you're all done and the audience is walking out and they all want to hug me, and I'm like,
no, thank you. You gotta put Howie Mandel. How about we just do a fist bump?
Listen, anybody that's watching, it's not I hug people, I shake hands and all that. I'm just saying, it's not something. I'm not one of those people that am compelled by touch. I'm just not. I've never cared. Hi, Joy Kung Cho. You are beautiful yourself, my dear.
I adore everybody here, but I love Joy. I'm so glad she's here. We know her from where David and I met, the Voldemort Voldemort, the name that shall not be mentioned. You guys, I'm not a Harry Potter stan. I don't know why Harry Potter's come up a couple times tonight.
Liam says, I don't like strangers to touch me unless I don't like strangers to touch me unless it's followed by a check.
Well, No, but have you ever been around? And I'd love to hear in the chat too. Like, thanks for sharing that, Liam. Anybody else listening, let us know. Oh, you guys are funny. Joyce says, LOL. Let us know in the chat, like, how do you feel about strangers touching you? Because if you've ever been in a room, and I can think of certain people already that I know that they're not being malicious or mean or anything, but they're just a touchy-feely person. So they're always touching your arm, like when they're talking to you, or they get a joke and they hit you, or like,
Yeah.
oh, it just gives me like the heebie-jeebies. And I would never say a word to people.
No.
They're not being mean. It's just who they are.
But I have to say this though. This could be the reason, and I don't know if this is a reason. It's not something that I'm really cared too much to look into, but I'm that person because of the work I do, and I'm sure Laura Lee's the same way, because of the work that I do in the certain states of mind I'm in. When I'm doing a reading, like if it's a telephone reading and I'm talking to somebody across the world, when their loved one comes in, I feel the person in my room and they're not there. So, I feel the presence of people, and if I can feel the presence of invisible people, I think real people probably are like, don't.
That's how I never understood it, but it'll either feel like an electric shock to me or like nails on a chalkboard.
Yeah.
And even when I'm with a significant other, you're never going to find, and there's nothing wrong with it. I'm not being judgmental. It's just who I am. I'm not a hand-holdy kind of PDA type of person. And it's just who I am. I've been like that my whole life. Like Liam says, Liam Morgan, seriously, I don't like it though.
Yeah.
There you
I
go.
get it. I get it. I hug somebody, hello, hug them goodbye. But if
I will with permission or whatever, it's coming. It's
if I have to sit on the couch next to somebody, if I'm like, you're in my space.
I know. I had to go to the doctor's last night. I was playing musical benches because soon as more people were there, saying, "No, I'm gonna get up and move."
I'm gonna have to inch over. You gotta
Like,
stay at least 20 feet away from me. No kidding.
yep. So Joy says, hang on, I got to highlight her comment. She says, I'm typically a touchy-feely person. It's how I engage. I do limit touch if I sense they're not into it. I suppose it's the same as folks who are huggers, handshakers, or fist bumpers. And there's nothing wrong with it at all. Like, that's just who you are. Like, that's what I was trying to make clear. Like, Joy, I've met you in person, and you just have the most beautiful energy about you. Like, yes, I think I did hug you. I had no problem hugging you. I mean,
I
if
hug people. I hug people. I hug my mom, hello, or bye, or stuff like that. I hug
it's just people I don't know, or it's people that come in out of nowhere, I think. So Sandra says, this is interesting hearing how people perceive this, because we were talking about ghosts touching us. Do you want to read Sandra's comment, Dave?
It says, I was raised in a physically demonstrative family, so I'm perfectly comfortable with physical contact from those who my father familiar. Now, see, that makes sense because
I was just thinking
he's a
that.
great family, but we were not a touchy-feely family.
No, mine isn't either.
So I never had that. Maybe if I was forced into touchy-feely when I was younger, it probably wouldn't bother me. I don't know. There could be a million things. I don't worry about it, but I just have to say this.
Yeah, like I don't go out, or even as a nurse, like there's sometimes I didn't do it all the time, but there's sometimes family members need a hug, or, a patient needed a hug. When you're going to say, no, I can't touch you because you gave me the heebie-jeebies, I would never say that. I'm not thinking of myself in that moment. Yeah. But I'm just saying it's usually when it's not expected and it's a stranger, or that's what it is, I think.
It's like, no one kills me. I don't mind the hug. What bothers me in the hug is when they hold you in the hug. I'm like, all right, now you're making me uncomfortable. Yep. I need an adult.
So this conversation, you can see why, if you're a paranormal investigator and a spirit touches you uninvited, and it feels so gross. I don't know about you, Dave, but I've never felt it feel good.
The ones who touched me, I don't remember them like touch where it was bad. I have done the proverbial
not a bad touch in the bad way, somewhere they shouldn't be touching. I'm talking about what it feels.
But it didn't feel weird. It didn't feel weird. I have walked through this proverbial. And that is a different feeling. But Also, I've been in, I have to say, even when I had my NDE, not one person hugged me on the other side.
But though, think about all the accounts. Like, and I've shared this many times. I've studied this for over 40 years, professionally and personally. And there's probably somebody that's talked about it, but I do not recall one case of somebody saying, well, no, that's not true. One case I can think of, but it was when he was allowed to return to visit his wife and his infant son that had died in a car accident. But other than that, I don't remember. That's not a common thing to hear people hugging.
It's not. I mean,
I don't think
it's
you need to.
no. Well, we're not physical.
Mhm.
So but there's a difference because I do remember, like my grandparents, all four of my grandparents, when I saw them, when I stood next to them, the hug almost was implied.
Mhm.
We did it. I don't remember doing it and smelling them or anything. They were standing in front of me, and as we smiled at each other and everything, you could just feel everybody was just there. It was a
And
whole
you're as one, so you're
yeah.
already touching, hugging, energy intermingled, because that's something else. I'm going to read Leon's comment, because at Christmas time, I don't know about y'all, but up here, everybody kisses everybody at Christmas. And
Oh,
I'm like, nope, nope, sorry, feel cold coming on.
you purposely go out with a fake coleslaw in your lap. Look.
I can't kiss you. Well, Liam says I hate it when customers say,
Listening. I want to preface this by everybody listening who are singing. Oh my God! I thought about when I got to heaven. The first thing I wanted to do is hug my husband, wife, and all that. That is done.
you'll do it. Yeah, you'll do
We
it.
will have that. We're talking about an NDE where we're there for a little bit
Yeah.
and all that. In real time, I know from talking to spirits that yes, they do have a sensation of a touch.
Hmm. Yeah,
So
and you don't, and again, we talked about earlier in the show, Dave, about, like, especially with angels and things, that what your belief system is or what you think they may look like. And I said this, and I know you'll agree 100%. I said it earlier. I always say to people when they're encountering spirits, first thing I'll say to them, or they got activity in their home, how did it make you feel? Do you have any pets? Do you have any young children? But then too, right? Like, you got to look at the whole situation and the fact that, what does it feel like? Sorry, I lost my train of thought as I'm rambling here. I'm trying to think what I was saying because I seen these comments here. Go ahead. You were going to say something. I'll probably
you
remember.
were talking about the first thing you asked somebody was, "How do you feel? How did that experience make you feel?" And did you feel that experience like that because it surprised you, or because something like that?
Loved ones. Sorry, I'm going to cut you off. Sorry, or I'll lose it again. So with loved ones, if it's a loved one, I tell them, first of all, how did it make you feel? Well, neither maybe good or bad, but I always tell them, if you want to tell a difference, not always, but there's a good meter. A loved one is never, or an angel or higher vibrational being is not going to purposefully scare you. I
Yeah.
actually heard of a story here recently. I'm trying to remember who told me it. And they said that their aunt had passed away, and she kept leaving knocks because before she passed away, she let them know that she would let them know if she was okay or not. And I believe they were talking about that there was a channel or medium there, and I don't know if there was an exchange of permission or whatever, but the aunt actually went into the medium's body for a bit. The voice changed and everything. And she said that she apologized. She said, I wasn't trying to scare you guys. I just wanted to let you know I'm here. We go on forever and I'm okay.
Yeah.
Right?
And I was gonna say, I remember a dream I had once my entire life. This one dream where somebody kissed me in that dream on the lips, and to this day, I can tell you that felt more real than anything I've ever had in real life. I can still feel that it was in a dream. So, what I'm getting at is, I think even spirits maybe if you've never been in a physical life as a spirit, you're never going to know what touch is. So you might have a physical reality in order to know what touch is, because touch is basically you touch this, nerves go to our brain feels it, our soul feels it, and everything else. But I think touch goes way deeper than the brain and the skin.
Oh, absolutely.
I think that touch in its purest form has nothing to do with skin and bones. Even like pain is learned.
I think that touch is one of the first senses that I think that we whether we know what it is or not, but when we are conceived, right? Because
Yeah.
it's touching us, but we're carried in a very tight, swaddled container. You've
Yeah.
got that contact all on your skin, right? It's one of your first things after your heartbeat
That we know.
going
So
to
I
feel.
think touch. So for people who think just because I don't remember getting hugged or anything in my NDE doesn't mean anything, because like I said,
Plus, we
it,
don't know everything.
yeah. Plus, it was implied, and when it's implied that way, it's just something automatically. It's almost sometimes it's almost impossible to describe an NDE because you really can't think of any words for it. But like Lorilei just said too, even all of us who've had NDE, we did not all completely die and go all the way to go into those spots. So there's other stuff we don't know about that I have to
I
depend on.
think you get
I have
what
to
you need in the experience. Hi, Kevin. We got Z Sun Dragon. He says, "Hey, I think you get maybe
Kevin,
what you've contracted to experience if you should choose to." Not that anybody would choose to have an NDE, but I'm speaking from a higher perspective here. But I almost feel like people get what they need from that
yeah,
experience.
somebody had said I'd listened to a couple different people and I kind of agree with it. Is sometimes it might be contracted, but what it is basically is a reset. Because I can tell you, anybody who is a little older or whatever who had an NDE, your life is not the same and it never will be again. There's nothing you can do to change it back. Once you know, you know. And that's it.
Mm-hmm.
It's a good thing.
I
It's a
wanted
good
I wanted to share Liam's comment. Liam Morgan says, "I felt my angels touch me during a clearing, during meditation. Felt like someone lightly picking at my skin. That's an interesting experience." Hi, Kevin. He says, "Hi, Dave. Hi,
whenever
Lee." That's the Sun Dragon. He said I could call him Kevin. So
hi Kevin. When I get when I do angels come in slightly different than me than regular spirits do, but for the most part, it's for me, angels and spirits. Um, when somebody's loved one comes in, sometimes if I don't see them or if I'm not seeing them, like I sense they're there, I can't see them. They'll run like tingles across my chest, go
yeah,
across to
I was trying to think of the word with angels. I kept asking
angels
spirits, not a
tingle.
vibration, but it's the most beautiful, wonderful sensation, and you don't have words for it. But once you feel it, you know
You know
it's
it.
an angel. Or
When I do channeled angel stuff and like when I do channeled angel writings or anything, when that begins, I feel I feel outside of myself, if that makes sense. So everything feels like it's kind of everything's lifting, everything. I just feel a little
I just
outside
think there's
myself.
no words.
Yeah,
Even
that's what it
colors,
is,
sounds,
Jenny.
everything, but especially angels.
Yeah, I can't because angels are an entity. I mean, we call them angels here because that's the word we grew up with. Who knows what they call them other places? Um,
I'll
but
keep
these
it there.
but these angelic beings are. I know when I encounter them, they're very strong in their presence when they need to be. I mean, when they need to be, they're there. I mean, woo. But like I said, when I feel them, they're kind of I kind of almost lift up a little bit. It feels like.
I almost feel a little bit of a rumble as that energy is coming in because the vibration is so
Yeah,
powerful. Like the energy, it's so
it's
hard to explain. It's not an earthquake. The floor's not shaking. I don't have the words to explain it. It's so once you experience it, you know it. And I'm not trying to say that we're so special that we experience because y'all, you don't, you, we all, you were the minute you took your first breath, you had an angel with you. You're gonna have and all kinds of angels around you and guides and
oh,
hi,
and then,
Jonathan.
hey, Jonathan, what's up?
We were talking about you, Jonathan. You weren't here. We showed the clip from talking with the source when Dave was on with you and AJ. That was a pretty cool capture you guys picked up. What was the consensus? What did people? We kind of got off. Dave and I do this, and we do this even when we're not on the air. The things we talk about. So, what did everybody think that shadow might have been, Dave?
I have no clue. For me, I don't know because
Do you want
I
me to play it again? Because there's a lot of people that weren't here when.
yeah, you can play it again if you want.
Give me a
It's
sec while you're talking.
I was trying to remember what I was talking about, because sometimes when I start talking and when guides are giving me answers or I'm talking for them, I kind of lose track of who I am or where I am. So I didn't really notice that. And I'm trying to think of what I was talking about during that section. That might give us a clue to who that shadow could have been.
Okay, here it is again. I gotta, it's gonna start playing. Don't play. Stop.
Over here for Matt.
Sorry. Okay, I'm trying to cue it up here. So let me cue it up. I had it ready and then I closed it down. Hang on. So we want to present. So Jonathan, he thinks it was an attachment. I don't know. What's your thoughts on that?
Well, I know I don't have an attachment, but it's.
I don't think so either, but
I
you
don't
do have visitors. You do have visitors, just as I do.
Plenty of visitors in my house, but it depends on who I'm talking about or what I'm talking about.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so can we all see that? So this happened on Talking with the Source when David was on there with AJ Capasso and Jonathan Keyworth. Jonathan, I said your last name. I was trying to go from memory, so it's Keyworth, or I said JK-47 Paranormal Investigations.
Attachments. We were talking about attachments.
Oh, that's what he's talking about. Jonathan. Okay, so we ready? I'm going to play it and then I'll blow it up as I start playing it. So guys, I'm sorry if you can't see the boys here, but we want to...
Powerful they were. Nothing could stop anybody here. But we...
Wait, hold on. I have to ask you a question. Did somebody just walk by in front of you? In front of the camera? Was somebody walking in the room in front of you?
Nope, I'm the only one here.
Did you see that, John?
Freaking powerful they were. Freaking powerful they were. Freaking powerful they were.
Talking with the Source.
It's weird. I watched that a few times where the shadow went in, and I was trying to think over and over. It stopped right at this wall.
Yeah.
So I don't really quite know.
I didn't pick anything in particular negative. Like it just...
No, he wasn't saying that though. He said, I
know he wasn't. I'm telling you, and I don't want to say what I was going to say because it's going to sound prejudiced to blonde people, but I'll tell you, my hair should be blonde tonight with the things I messed up. I'm having some blonde moments. So Kevin,
I'm having a bad hair life lately with this weather.
And that's why I was going to say it. But now that I've done it twice tonight, I screwed it up with Howie and then with poor Jonathan. So Z-Sun Dragon or Kevin says, ooh, I saw it. And Jonathan says, that was crazy. Hate to tell you, Jonathan, but if you're going to get Dave or I, you're going to get crazy. You should see us together.
We get crazy stuff.
Yeah, we do.
Yeah, that happens on a lot of my stuff. Although I've been making more TikToks again. My TikTok, I'm almost at 1,000.
I've been waiting for you, Dave. Once you're at 1,000. So you know what? I am going to share a little bit off topic. Jonathan goes, yeah, every week. You know what? I sent it to you, Dave, and I did not know this. Now, for those of you trying not to get off topic, but we got a minute before you jump into the spookies before you have to go. There is this lovebird on TikTok that is now on Instagram, and I think it's spelled Tamia, Tamiaveres. She has this lovebird named Prince, which is a female bird, and they do a voiceover for it. And it's, let's just say it's some colorful language, but it is hilarious. Okay, absolutely hilarious. They're Canadian. And I found out on one of the videos, I don't watch her all the time. It's just if it happens to come up on Instagram. And she goes, well, since we live in Canada, we don't get paid to be on TikTok or Instagram. She goes, so it really helps us with you buying our merchandise, or they've even started an Only Birds for Prince instead of OnlyFans. And I thought, that can't be right. And I looked and it is right. Did you see that stuff I sent you?
You can get an Only Birds.
Birds, and it can't get paid to be on TikTok or Instagram.
No, that's just absolutely odd that you can't have a creators fund out of Canada.
I sent you a screenshot. Check your messenger because I checked it.
I saw it. I was wondering what that was. I was reading that. I'm like, what?
I sent you a voice message with it. I know you don't always have time to listen.
I didn't get time to listen to that, but yeah.
Yeah, well, I thought, are you serious? No way. I thought it was funny. No, this bird, if you guys aren't offended by colorful language or anything like that, I am telling you, go watch this bird. It's funny. Like this bird has an emotional support coffee pot support. Yeah, it's a support coffee pot. Like, and this little bird is such a brat, like such a brat. And it's a real bird too. So,
Wow.
so Kevin says, felt like nothing negative
What about
seems.
the shadow?
Oh, that's interesting. Kevin says, yeah, about the shadow. Sorry. Kevin says, shadow seemed as surprised as us. It was even there. LOL, like something pulled it in. It felt like, and I'm not sure what else he put. It felt like, he said. So it's not, I guess from what what he said is it looked like the shadow was just as surprised for us to see it as you guys were to see it and anybody else that's seen the video. Did I say that right?
The only thing I could think what it was a shadow of or a manifestation of was possibly anybody. Whenever I do shows like that, and whenever I'm asked questions about certain things, my guides are always there. They're always with me. So maybe that was an appearance because it was tall, whatever that was. Because it was. Okay, I got my little pointer here. I got like a PowerPoint. It was that shadow was way up here. That went across way up here. I'm sitting low.
I don't know. Well, they're talking about the bird right now. Liam says I was a sailor and worked in corrections, so not much offends me. LOL. Well, then you're going to pee yourself laughing at this bird because the voiceover is hilarious. And then she actually said, this girl, she's a bit of an influencer. She does makeup and she owns her own tattoo studio. This girl just turned 26, by the way. So she's a real go-getter and she's engaged. And they actually did a story on Instagram from a couple of weeks ago. She goes, my fiance got fired because of Prince. And I guess what had happened to her a couple months back is somebody was so Puritan that got disgusted by the language being used. It's not really that bad, you guys, that they wrote the tattoo studio that I think it's Tamia is her name, or Tamia. I think it's Tamia, how she says it, saying that they really would like this letter to go to the owner of this business. Do they realize that they have an employee who has a channel like this with this filthy bird? And Tamia owns the studio. Well, I guess what they then did was wrote her fiance's employer, and he ended up losing his job.
Oh my gosh.
People, if you don't like it, don't watch.
What's at the foot of your bed? A bird, and it got me fighting.
This bird is, and she was showing like it, like this little bird likes to. I mean, she's really funny. She's got lots of like real personality. Like Tamia will sneeze on camera and go achoo, and the bird goes choo choo. Like it's such a cute little bird.
You guys, I didn't realize it is 8:51.
Okay, I want to say one thing before we go. Liam says maybe that shadow wasn't tall, but was a short gnome levitating. Oh my God, Liam, I am shocked that you said that because that's what I kept picking up. Not gnome, but more fairy. Well, actually, kind of gnome. Maybe we'll have to cover that next week because we're out of time. This goes by way too fast, you guys.
If you know the background here, I have plenty of gnomes. No, I have plenty of elemental stuff happening in this house.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I was feeling it was more like that. We haven't got time, Jonathan. Jonathan goes card. I was even going to try and go live, you guys, tonight.
I can do a Jonathan card in 1 minute, less than a minute.
Okay, let's pull one quick. We'll pull them quick. Quick. And this for anybody out there, or are you pulling it for Jonathan?
I'm
pulling it for anybody out there. So if this
resonates for Jonathan. Oh, here you go, Jonathan. Jonathan, I had to do your energy because that's what was stuck there. Your card, Jonathan. Drum roll, please. Transformation.
I got a good card too.
Jonathan, this is the Phoenix. So when it feels like you're going to go up in ashes, you're being reborn right away. So you're on a roll. You're there. Remember what we talked about before? That was a continuation of the same thing. Keep going forward. Don't lose your sight. Keep going.
I got manifestation, and I believe this is a perfect time coming up. We got a full moon. Don't forget to put your crystals out. Don't put them outside in the rain and stuff. Look it up a little bit because I haven't got enough time to talk about it. But with the full moon, it's very powerful. Second one this month. Okay, really powerful energy. The other part is we have a new moon coming. So release what no longer serves you and lay it all out in preparation for the new moon to manifest what you hope to achieve. Before you guys run off, stay tuned. Second night tonight of the Outer Realm with Michelle DeRoche and Amelia Pisano coming up right next. They always got a great show. Dave, tell them where they can find you.
Guys, you can find me on YouTube, on TikTok, and on Facebook at The Spirit Experience. You can find me at Medium David Hanzel on Instagram. Please follow me on TikTok. It's a new account. Lost my old one. And you can get hold of me at theywhispertome.com.
And David or I never contact people and solicit readings ever. If they do, report them. It's not us. And if you ever want to get a hold of me, you can get a hold of me on Facebook.com/Angel Rock. You've got show idea, guest suggestion. You want to book a reading, energy healing. I do mentoring. Also 2 groups on Facebook, Paranormal University for all things paranormal, and the Angel Rocket Tribe for many of the spiritual things we sometimes talk about on here. Stay tuned on Monday for the Angel Rock. That's me, little old me by myself, 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time here, right here on UPRN. Love you guys all so much. Thank you. You guys are so awesome to us. We wouldn't be here without you, right, Dave?
That's right.
Are we going to try it? Are we going to try it? Ready?
Real quick. 1, 2, 3. What's at the foot of your bed?
One of these days, you guys, we're going to say it. We never practice, but that's our problem.
It might not be fair, too, because of the fact we have a slight delay.
We do. We do. We'll get it one of these days. Anyways, we love y'all. We'll see you next week. Same time, same space. If you like what you see, share and subscribe and stay tuned. Talk to you later.